newsx.com. Let us help you keep pace with technology. NewsX.
Good morning, you're watching NewsX. Let's take you straight into our top stories. You'll be wondering long and hard about this one as the government takes decisions. In fact, how the government takes decisions. Despite almost no legislative activity this monsoon, the UPA will soon give MPs a 300% pay hike. And if you thought that was hard to believe, wait for this. Most MPs believe they actually deserve more. Sanjeev Singh tells you why.
They wanted a 5-fold increase. They got only a 300% hike. That's what this ruckus is all about. And that's only the basic salary. The basic goes up to 50,000 a month from 16,000. Office expense allowances double to 40,000 a month. Fuel reimbursements go up to 16 rupees a kilometre from 13 rupees a kilometre. Not much to be unhappy about, but give them a hearing. After all, ye dil mange more.
कमेटी का रिपोर्ट था, उसको लागू करने का हम लोगों ने सरकार पर दबाव रखा, आग्रह भी किया, लेकिन सरकार ने कोई सुनवाई नहीं की.
Common man may not have much expectations from its MPs, but the MPs definitely have high expectations from their own colleagues. So much so that even a 300% salary hike is not enough to keep them happy. An issue that threatens to stall the parliament again.
Though many do realize the public criticism around MPs deciding their own salaries and all the bad press on the big pay hikes.
I think a via media need to be found out, and the MPs should not give an impression that they are too concerned only about their salary.
MPs are not deciding their salaries. It is a committee that has been created. They've deliberated over 8 months. It's a process. Let the due process follow. Don't create such a huge hype over it.
Left party MPs even pose unhappy with the entire state of affairs.
We have demanded in the past, and in 2006, in response to what I raised in the Rajya Sabha, the then Minister for Parliamentary Affairs assured the Rajya Sabha that the government will come out with a mechanism whereby the decision on MP salaries and allowances will be taken by a mechanism which does not involve the MPs. So we have said that that is what it should be done, and therefore we are not participating in any of this.
Not a performance appraisal, no accountability, just quite a job. This is Vishal Daya in New Delhi. Bilal Zaidi, NewsX.
Or who among the MPs believe they deserve even more than a tripling of their salaries? At the forefront of those demands are the regional parties. In fact, bitter rivals from Uttar Pradesh, the Samajwadi Party and the BSP have come together on this issue. They've joined the RJD and at least one member of the JDU with those demands. Other regional parties like the Shiv Sena from Maharashtra and the Akali Dal from Punjab also want more pay. The left takes a slightly different view on this matter. They don't oppose the hike necessarily, but feel it's actually morally wrong for MPs to vote on their own salaries. This issue made headlines all through yesterday, of course, after the cabinet cleared the deal for higher pay for MPs. Most MPs were demanding at least 500% more pay of about 80,000 rupees and one. That's 1 rupee more than the comparable level for members of the Indian Administrative Service. The cabinet, however, cleared a far lower pay hike. If you can call 300% a far lower pay hike, they are now going to put that forward in the Lok Sabha for clearance today. Remains to be seen, of course, how the regional MPs take to this hike of 300%. They've clearly not swallowed. It's clearly not gone down well with them on Friday. Huge agitations in Parliament over the matter. The government managed at least one other piece of legislative action on Friday by bringing the Nuclear Liability Bill one step closer to passing. The new draft contains several amendments demanded by the BJP. The left, though, says the safeguards are still way too low.
After months of standoffs in Parliament on the Nuclear Liabilities Bill, the green light at last.
Many recommendations which were in national interest has been incorporated in the report of the Standing Committee on Science and Technology, and we hope that the government comes forth with the bill with those amendments.
The final list of BJP objections are now likely out of the way. It had come down to just 2 points of contention: raising the compensation cap to 1,500 crore rupees from 500 crore and clear-cut accountability for the suppliers for any mishap involving an atomic plant. In place of 2 conditions laid down, the BJP wanted even one of them to be enough to seek damages, hence removal of the "and" clause.
Is that now we are proposing to create 3 categories of plants. One category is large nuclear power plant, the regular power plant that we're talking about. But we have created 2 additional categories, smaller categories. The standing committee had recommended that the maximum liability to the operator be increased from 500 crore rupees to 1,500 crore rupees.
The real problem for the UPA was to get the BJP on board, and once the government relented to their demands, the Nuclear Damages Bill is now all set to become a law in the days to come.
Left parties persist with voices of protest, though it's unlikely they'll matter in the parliament numbers game.
We still have objections on 2-3 other issues. One is that we don't think that our domestic bill should set a ceiling of the liability. Like many countries have a floor. You set the minimum, and after that it depends on the nature of the accident. How that will be decided at that point of time. Number 2, I don't think we should leave any scope of ambiguity in joining any international convention.
First Pranab Mukherjee's convincing, now the government agreeing with the BJP's demands. Does it all mark it being pushed into a corner for the sake of operationalizing the nuclear deal? With Sanjeev Singh in New Delhi, Bilal Zedi, News X.
Let's try and get a hang of all these, what may seem like a very technical subject, with Dr. Suvrokamal Dutta. He's a foreign policy and political expert, and he's joining us in our Noida studio. Dr. Dutta, thanks for joining News X this morning. Help our viewers understand all these various technical aspects of this bill. First up, the "and" clause. What exactly is that?
See, the "and" clause it's in relation to if some eventuality happens, then who is liable for it, and what is the nature of that eventuality. So, there are some technical relationship in that. My understanding is I have a lot of difference on the liability issue itself. As per the international law and international jurisprudence, there are 3 concepts of liability. Yeah. One is total liability, the second one is absolute liability, and the third one is partial liability. Now, according to international law and according to international jurisprudence, liability actually lies with the supplier, yes, not with the buyer.
Because he's the guy who makes the equipment.
He's the guy who is making the equipment. He's the one who is supplying the equipment. So tomorrow, if there is any kind of eventuality, say for example, if there is a leakage in the nuclear plant because of some technical problems, because of some technical flaws, who is liable for that? That's a very big question. Exactly. You know? So the concept of liability in this bill should be very, very clear. Sure. And I think the way the bill has been, drafted and the way it has been tabled in Parliament, that concept of liability is still very cliched. It's not very, very clear. It's a bit ambiguous. So that's where I have a difference. But then, having said that, I would say that the original draft which was there, which was tabled last year, that was totally, absurd, I would say. But then, yes, after that, the amendments which were brought, and then the pandemonium which took place in the Parliament, and the inclusion of these 3 disputed words which have been included by the government, I think this is a bill which is much better than what it was originally. But still, on the question of liability, there is a difference, and I strongly feel that on the issue of liability, the measures should have been much more stringent.
In some ways, do you feel that the Nuclear Liability Bill, as it's sort of nicknamed, is it very partial in some ways to the suppliers? Do you feel that the suppliers are getting away with less liability than, say, suppliers in the US or Europe?
Probably yes, even though I haven't studied the whole bill on an in-depth basis, but as far as I have glanced through and as far as I understand, yes, probably some of the measures should have been much more stringent, and if that would have been done, it would have been in a much better shape. But the second thing is like on the question of the minimum cap, you know, the compensation part of it. Say tomorrow if there is a Chernobyl here in India, or for that matter, if we, God forbid, if we have something like another Bhopal, right, in India, then what should be the compensation? I think what I understand is like when we are dealing with nuclear technology, with nuclear, you know, arsenals, what we understand is like the minimum cap itself should have been enough for compensation, you know, like, and the range is maximum is 1,500 crores. In my understanding, the minimum should have been 1,500 crores.
Okay, so right now what they've got is a maximum cap should have actually been the floor.
You know, like, and I say that the minimum should have been 1,500 crores and do not make the maximum cap, you know.
The maximum is depending on what
depending on the nature of the disaster, depending on the nature of the things, you know, like that could have been decided. It could have been decided by the court of the country. It could have been decided taking into international law into cognizance, you know, and past incidents as such. The second thing is like in relation to the 20-year period, like I mean claiming within 20 years once a disaster takes place or if something happens, you know. I understand is like, say for example, I'll just cite you one small example of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Once the atomic bombs were thrown there, like it's not only that generation, the generation after that, at least 3 generations after that, they suffered, and even now people are suffering. So is it only a question of 1 generation or is it only a question of 2 generations? This is something which needs to be debated.
Should there be a time bound?
At least a time bound kind of a thing. It should be at least of 3 to at least of 4 to 5 generations.
Based on what we've seen in history.
What we have seen in the past, and do not forget the kind of environmental disaster which takes place because of the presence of radio, you know, elements, and because of several atomic waste which comes out during a nuclear disaster. You know, like, so like, I mean, and that actually affects the environment at least for 100 years. So this is a very serious kind of a thing which needs to be taken into account, and I think the members of parliament, they should thoroughly debate this bill and then take a final decision on the.
So it's in better shape than it was last year, but still far from a perfect bill.
What actually it should have been. We cannot say that this is still a perfect bill.
Because it won't in its current form, it won't safeguard the people.
No, not everything. Yes, to a great extent, it is much better than what it was originally. But a lot more safeguards needs to be there to make it absolutely perfect and taking into cognizance our national interest.
Absolutely. Dr. Dutta, we do appreciate you coming on and helping our viewers understand what exactly the condition of this bill is and in what state it probably needs to be. Thanks once again.
Thank you so much.
All right, let's get you some political news now. Election season always creates new friendships to replace old ones. The upcoming Bihar Assembly elections is no different. The former Railways Minister Ramvilas Paswan has decided to patch up with his UPA-1 counterpart Lalu Prasad Yadav. He explains his newfound alliance to our National Affairs editor Seema Mustafa.
He announced that he will give 3 decimal lands to everybody, and till date not a single Mahadalit has got a single decimal of land. He announced that all the Mahadalits will get transistor, will get TV, not a single has. So it will go against him. तो हम लोग बचपन में बाइस्कोप देखते थे, तो बाइस्कोप में कहा जाता था कि 80 मन के रानी देखो, 9 मन बुलाकी देखो, हावड़ा का पुल देखो, कुतुब मीनार देखो। तो नीतीश कुमार दिखला रहे हैं कि 3 डिसमिल जमीन देखो, टीवी देखो, रेडियो देखो, अब मिला कुछ नहीं।
Don't miss that whole interview tonight at 8:30. Tomorrow afternoon at 2:30, it's Straight Talk with our National Affairs editor Seema Mustafa. It's time now for a very quick break, but when we come back, we'll tell you why you shouldn't be kissing in public during the Commonwealth Games. You should have guidelines from the government. And also news about the moon. Will it be disappearing anytime soon? Scientists say it is shrinking. We'll get you the details on that when we come back.
They need a base to hit from. Oh, this is in the air again now. Has he got enough on something? He has. Oh, it's been put down. Neil Drew. He has.